Good evening, viewers, and welcome to Moving Forward here on WIN TV. I'm your host, Kavita Ramnan, and with me is none other than Dr. Nigel Austin. Good evening, Nigel.
Good evening, Kavita, and welcome to all our viewers back to another episode of Moving Forward.
It has been a relatively quiet week, but a good week.
Good week.
Definitely a good week. To let our viewers know, we heard that there is an accident on the southbound lane of the highway,
yes.
So please proceed with caution. That's just a little public announcement. Then be very, very careful on the nation's roads. Now you not only have to be cautious of vehicles on your bound lane, but on the opposite end of the highway.
Yes, the opposite end of the highway. So even though there's no accident on the southbound lane, of course, with the as we call the macro jam, the traffic has been backed up for at least about a mile or so. So just be careful on the roads, and of course, be safe.
Now, last week, we had a very interesting, both our segments last week were very interesting. But the first segment, we had our Deputy Political Leader, Dr. Lincoln Douglas, as well as Mr. Jamal Mohammed on our set, discussing the current situation with the Mayor of San Fernando, yes, and the COP's position in that situation. Let's just leave it as a situation.
Okay.
And we entertained quite a few phone calls, and we would like to send our apologies to all our callers who could not get through, and especially our last caller. Due to some technical difficulties, we in studio weren't able to hear that last caller.
Yes.
But I understand that all our other viewers were able to hear him quite clearly, and he had some very positive contributions to make. So we do apologize to you, sir, and we'd like to thank all of you who sent us emails congratulating us on that episode and for taking that stance. And we'd like to ask you to continue sending us your feedback and suggestions. That email address again, it's copmovingforward, all lowercase, @gmail.com. It's one word, copmovingforward@gmail.com.
And again, we do appreciate your feedback on the show. It keeps us going, it keeps us relevant, and we also want to know what it is you would like to see on our show moving forward.
Thank you. That is very sure, Nigel.
Yes.
This week we are continuing from last week's second segment.
Yes, last week's second segment, where it is I was interviewing Mrs. Lauren Pouchet, and I was also speaking with Ms. Lisa Hensel as well from the Diego Martin Central constituency, and we were having an interesting bit of a talk. We had to cut it a little short, and we brought them back today to continue.
Definitely. Ms. Lisa Hensel, as well as Mr. Kenny Jagdeo Singh, will be in studio with us discussing a little bit on the history of the Congress of the People. I know in previous shows we have discussed little bits on the inception of the Congress of the People, its history, where we were, and Mr. Jagdeo Singh is one of the key members of the founding of the Congress of the People. So he will be in studio with us for today's first segment, discussing a little bit of the history and continuing on the work that's being done in Diego Martin Central constituency.
Yes, that's what we'll be looking at. Mr. Jagdeo Singh is a fountain of knowledge, and it's a pleasure for us to have him here on the show tonight.
I'm sure we'll be enjoying that first segment. And then later on in today's show, we're going to be discussing with Councillor Lauren Pouchet about child abuse and bullying. We know it's been prominent in the news in Trinidad and Tobago, and it's a worrying issue. It's not new. It's something that over the years we have been discussing, but it's so relevant in this day and age.
And prominent as well.
Very prominent.
Yes.
So that's going to be in the second section of this evening's program. So we go for a short break. When we come back, Ms. Lisa Hensel and Mr. Kenny Jagdeo Singh.